So I'm finally getting a chance to do a follow-up on the solar out in the middle of the yard. It is definitely ugly the way it's set up. I never did come back and kind of clean it and finalize it, but I wanted to go over everything real quick because it is working. It has been functional. It's been running the load as intended for quite some time. Initially, I had put two 12-volt batteries in series to make 24 volts, which is the panel output, and to run, oh, that's lovely. Gotta love Chinese garbage. Anyway, I'll put the original video up in the corner wherever, so you can check that out if you're interested. But so I had failed to account for the unbalanced load coming off the batteries, and so we had one battery that was constantly discharged and one battery that was overcharged. Now they are still in there, functional, but one of them's on the edge of blowing up. So what I did is I just went ahead and made it a full 24 volt system. I got a 24 volt inverter from the internet, and then what I did is I set up running off of the load terminals on the controller. I used the load terminals to trigger a 24 volt relay. The 24 volt relay basically is a high power switch to turn the inverter on when it needs to be turned on. So the way that it works in practice is the charge controller does not turn on the load until the panel gets to, I think I've got it set for like 25.5 volts or 26 volts. And the reason it's set high is because we need to make sure that we have enough current to run the inverter as well as the load that's behind it. So in the morning, the sun comes up. Once it breaks on this and we get up to our set voltage, it triggers the load, which is just turning the relay on. That then closes the circuit that sends power to the inverter, kicks the inverter on, and runs the system on the backside. So it is still 100% portable. I do need to make it a little bit cleaner, more robust. Obviously, this is still just hanging out here. The plan long term is to get a couple more of these boards, put them over here, probably add a second battery box. The relay will be mounted kind of something like that. This will be inside a box, and then I need to find a way to mount the charge controller. Actually considering expanding this a little bit and putting a second panel at an angle over here. What that would allow me to do is face it north-south, I guess. So right now that's facing south, which is most of the sun comes from there, but obviously I either have to move it during the day, or we end up with, we catch more in the morning or we catch more in the afternoon. If I put a second panel up this way, I could rotate it 90 degrees. The first panel would catch the first half of the day, the second panel would catch the other half of the day. But that's not really a priority at this point. It's functional, it's doing what it needs to do. Really what I need to do is focus on cleaning it up and adding the second box and just cleaning up the wiring so that it's not so much of a rat's nest. But it is 100% functional. It absolutely works as intended. Because we're using the relay and we're not sending the full voltage through here, we're capable of doing more than 10 amps. This is supposedly a 100 amp relay. I would definitely melt this if I was to try and run 100 amps through that. But point being, the controller is capable of handling a little bit more load in this way because we're not running high current through the controller itself. We're just using this to trigger the relay. So anyway, yeah, it is 100% functional. It all works as intended. I just had to upgrade to a 24 volt inverter. So this whole setup here, probably still somewhere around $200, $250. Yeah, not too bad. Definitely cheaper than running electricity out to the middle of the yard. And of course, this is portable. I can move it somewhere and do whatever I need to with it. So hope you got something out of that. Enjoy.